Hey guys, Toby Morrison here from CFS Health. Welcome to today's show, Ask Toby Show. Today we have a question from Graham. Hey Graham, thanks for writing in. Thanks Toby. Question. I'm sure you've answered this before, which I kind of have in my online recovery program for my members, but not to the public. How do you distinguish between chronic fatigue syndrome tired and normal tiredness? And how do I avoid crashing? I hope this is clear. Thanks Graham for your question. I think it's a really important question to ask, and this is why I've chosen to answer it, because it's really important to distinguish between the two, because at the end of the day, I think what happens is, as people have chronic fatigue syndrome for a long time, they don't know the difference between normal tired and CFS tired, and then they associate all tiredness with having chronic fatigue syndrome. So, first of all, I'll clear one point up. Everyone gets tired, even if you don't have chronic fatigue syndrome. Now, this is why I bring this up first, because it's very important to understand that. Healthy people get tired. How often do you hear mum and dad or, brother, sister, sibling, friend, and, you catch up with them and they go, oh, I'm so tired. And so it's really important to realize that, because everyone gets tired, and it's actually normal and healthy to get tired, right? Especially before we go to sleep. That's what we want to. We want to be tired by the end of the day, so we do sleep well. So there's that tired, which is healthy tired. That's really good tired. We can all get tired like that. We feel sleepy, we feel relaxed. We might feel a little bit overly tired, but that's okay. We can sleep it off and we'll wake up and be okay tomorrow. Now, that is healthy tired. The difference is with chronic fatigue syndrome tired is usually you have a flare-up of symptoms. So a healthy person who gets tired, or normal tiredness, is when you get tired but you don't really have an effect of symptoms like, your muscles flare up or your throat gets sore and so forth. However, if you have chronic fatigue syndrome tiredness, which is more of an exhausted feeling, usually your symptoms will exacerbate. So, you'll have a sore throat, swollen glands, sore muscles, achy muscles. You could even have leg pain. You'll usually have one symptom that will kind of switch on, and you'll know that that's your cue to probably have a rest or relax or do something for yourself that you need to do. That is chronic fatigue syndrome tiredness. So you don't need to avoid normal tiredness. It's an absolutely normal process. It's more switching your brain to realize the distinguish between the two, because I think that's the thing. It's the association that we have with fatigue and tiredness that is the problem here. So if you're constantly thinking, I don't want to be tired, I don't want to be tired, I don't want to be tired, well, anytime you do get tired, you're going to freak yourself out, and you're going to have, stress and anxiety towards that feeling, whereas it probably could be normal for you to feel tired. It depends on what you did that day, all right? Or it could depend on what you did last week, which was a bank of expending energy, which eventually made you feel really tired, okay? I mean, I have healthy friends. One girl in particular who I saw yesterday, she's like, oh my God, I'm just so tired today. And I go, well, you've had a pretty big week. And she goes, do you think? I said, well, yeah, you got up at 5:30 every morning for work. You worked 8 hours every single day, and then you kind of haven't stopped when you come home. You don't really relax. You just, you go. So, I think it's absolutely normal that you feel this way today. And she's like, oh yeah, maybe I do. And so the panic stopped. The realization that, yeah, the payback or the deserved tiredness is there for her. Now, the difference between chronic fatigue syndrome tiredness and that is that with chronic fatigue syndrome tiredness, there is no reason for it almost, right? Like you could just wake up and you just feel completely flat today. Or you do like normal day errands and then you are wiped out for an entire week. That's chronic fatigue syndrome tiredness. I don't even like the word tired for that feeling, because it's not just tiredness, and this is why it's confusing for people. And this is why you asked this question, Graham. So know that there's a healthy tiredness that we all have, and it could be, we might not have slept that well last night. So if we didn't sleep that well, we're not completely 100% refreshed, and therefore we might struggle through the day, but we'll be okay because Our bodies can handle it and we're healthy. Now, with someone with chronic fatigue syndrome, on the other hand, if you have a bad night's sleep, it's very hard to get into your routine. It's hard to do your exercise program. It's hard to, just do the little things day by day. And so that's the distinguished point that you need to realize when you need to go and when you need to slow. Okay? Or when you need to slow and then when you need to go. So it's really important that you, listen to your body, but also watch your mind and just see what it does. Because if you've had chronic fatigue syndrome for a long time, it's very easy to think that all tiredness is bad. Okay, but what you need to realize is that there is a healthy tiredness and then an unhealthy tiredness. The unhealthy tiredness is unfortunately a part of chronic fatigue syndrome. It gets better as you get healthier. So again, focusing on your sleep, your nutrition, your restorative movement, your mindset, your stress and anxiety management. We know that stress and anxiety, is a huge cause of chronic fatigue syndrome, in a sense of, being chronically fatigued, because it absolutely your whole system is in overdrive. It's in a state of flight or fight. Okay, so you want to try and calm that down. You want to try and relax as much as possible, but just know over time that your energy will improve, but you have to do the work first for it to improve. Unfortunately, as you know, with chronic fatigue syndrome, you can't just lie there in bed all day and expect to get better. You'll usually feel worse if you just rest all the time, because you'll decondition. Your body clock will be out of whack. You won't know what time of day it is, and it will be very hard for your system to get healthy again. So that's what we want to focus on. We want to focus on getting back into a good rhythm and routine, regardless of what's going on. Make sure it's specific to you. You don't want to overdo it, especially when you're feeling that way. Okay? So if you want to avoid a crash and you're feeling chronically fatigued, exhaustion, let's just say that's the word for it. We don't want to use tiredness, right? Because there's a difference. Then you need to do what's right for you. You need to listen to your body. You need to probably rest. You need to maybe take a day off. But once you get into the routine, this is why it's so hard for people to improve, in a consistent fashion, is because when you do have a really bad day of CFS exhaustion, then you kind of feel like you're at square one again. That's not the case though. It's just that that's what it feels like. Okay? So it's really important to get back into a positive cycle in terms of getting back into your routine, sticking to what works for your body specifically at the right time for you. Okay? There's going to be times in recovery, I especially know for people who have been sick for a long time, if they're completely deconditioned, then restorative movement is out of the picture right now. That's not what's important. What's important is just being able to get up at a certain time every single day and being able to have your regular meals, so your body and your system can actually get used to and know that there's some regularity with it. From there, as your energy builds, your strength and stamina, you can implement, moving around the house. And then from there, you can, bump into restorative movement, which will then help restore more energy and give you strength and stamina to be able to do things that you want to do and help yourself. So, I'll finish with this. I invite you to explore what you associate with normal tiredness and CFS tiredness. There's a complete difference. And let's just say CFS is exhaustion with exacerbated symptoms versus healthy tired, which is where you might just feel flat, but you can get through the day okay, and you're not going to have any setbacks from doing so. Okay? Again, healthy people get tired all the time. That's what our bodies do. That's why we sleep. I think sleep is such an important factor in this. So, it's really important to look at that too. Hope that answers your question, Graham. If you get tired, just watch what you're thinking about it. See whether it is just normal tiredness, which is absolutely fine. You can, give yourself a pat on the back because you've worked for it. Or you've had chronic fatigue syndrome tiredness and you need to probably relax and chill out and do what you need to do for your recovery. Hope that helps, and I'll speak to you soon.